Hey, Breaking Brown family, it's Yvette Carnell coming to you once again to talk about the political issues of the day. We're gonna try to get to everything really quick today because today I have 3 issues that I want to talk to you about in a fairly speedy segment, really quickly, that I'm going to get through. But as usual, if you're watching this on Facebook, I want you to take the time to like my page. I want you to take the time to share this page with your friends. Share this discussion with your friends. I want you to also take the time, if you're on YouTube, to subscribe to the channel and share that, with your friends. I want you to, if Twitter's your thing, Twitter's, not necessarily my thing, but if Twitter's your thing, I want you to tweet it out to your friends and tweet it out to the world as well. As usual, as I always do, when we have the show, I give you a time to take some time, do what you gotta do, handle your business. If you gotta relax for a minute, if you gotta stretch out, if you gotta, put your pajamas on, if you gotta put the baby to bed, whatever you gotta do, this little moment, this little time in between is your time to do it. So take care of that because we got a lot to talk about. And one of the things we got to talk about is we always talk about politics, but we have to talk about politics in the context of a comment that Omarosa made when she appeared on The View. When she appeared on The View, it was all the talk. And I know a lot of you know that I've been trying to get to Omarosa or get to Trump or get to somebody who knows somebody who can, I don't think it's ever too late to make the case. It doesn't mean that you're going to get what you want. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means you want an opportunity to say your piece and to represent who you represent. So a lot of you know that we've been doing that. A lot of you know that we've been trying to kind of, I believe you're only as strong as the ideas you come in contact with. So you're only as strong as the ideas you bump against, and then you bump those ideas against other ideas. So, in that sense, that's kind of why I do this, and that's kind of why I want to come in contact with people. That's kind of why I want to have conversations with people, because I think it's possible, I don't even know if it's probable, that I may introduce you to something that you didn't already know about Black life or what led to wealth gaps or how we got here in the first place. So I say that in terms of how I'm framing this conversation. Some people say, well, Yvette, if you did have the opportunity to talk to Trump or to talk to Omarosa, what would be the case that you would make in terms of Black life, in terms of what Black people need in order to be successful, to overcome the legacy of slavery and Jim Crow and redlining and employment discrimination? What would you say that Black people need? And I think there's a clip from The View which actually kind of lays that in my lap. You know how sometimes you just get a gift and you didn't even mean to get the gift, but it just falls right in your lap? Well, I think that's kind of, whether she meant to do it or not, I think that's kind of what Omarosa did for me. So I want to play this clip, and I want to frame it in terms of when you watch this clip, I want you to think about, what is Yvette going to say about this clip? What is she going to say about this clip in terms of Black people, in terms of public goods and the necessity of public goods in Black life? So I want to play that clip right now. We come back, we're going to talk about it.
When you start talking about the African-American community, the last administration decided not to aggressively do African-American outreach. They felt that if they helped all Americans, then the Black community would be helped. And that, that really isn't the approach that we're taking. We have a very strategic plan of engaging this community. We see what's happening in the inner cities. We see that 56% of African-American men under 30 are either unemployed or not in school. And we want to work to change that. We see the violence that's happening in Chicago. First and foremost, let me just tell you a little bit about myself, and then you can understand how I got where I am. I grew up in Youngstown, Ohio, in the Westlake Projects, a housing project. So I am the embodiment of the American dream. I grew up on welfare, on Section 8 housing. My father was killed when I was 7 years old. I went to public schools. I went to Central Ohio, got to Howard University, and started to work in politics. So I earned my way to sit in the White House. No one gave me anything, okay?
So they got both of them.
Okay.
Good.
Aha!
It's complicated. People might not know what they just saw.
No. Aha! Wait a minute. Aha! Let me just go into this. It's not too complicated. Let me just break down what I saw in that clip. First of all, Omarosa did a very good job of having that conversation. And let me tell you how this came about. Irvin came to me and said, you got to see this clip. You got to see this clip. And I said, why I got to see the clip? I don't want to see the clip. You got to see the clip. I don't want to see the clip. You got to see the clip. But what does a good person do who's a good co-host or producer? They say, you got to see the clip and let's give you the clip. And you just force feeding the clip. But this is why I say aha. You say, Yvette, why do you say aha? Why do you? Because I want you to think about everything Omarosa said. She talked about Section 8, being raised in Section 8. She talked about the projects. She talked about Howard University. All of those things are government programs. But at the end, she says, nobody ever gave me anything. The truth of the matter is government afforded you a lot. And so if I'm having a conversation with Omarosa, what I want to say is, Omarosa, black people in this country only want the opportunities that you were given through government monies.
And those are all contested programs. Don't pretend that like the government had to do it. No, in each one of those programs, there was opposition and like Supreme Court cases, like Section 8 was something that was fought for. Welfare doesn't even exist anymore in the form that she had it because it was gutted in 96. And I assume that she's old enough that like she was talking about pre-96. So all of those programs are contingent and contested.
Yeah, and they were, and a lot of them were contested by who?
Republicans.
And with the exception of the welfare reform, of course, that was Bill Clinton.
Right.
That was Bill Clinton. And so I'm gonna address them piece by piece. But let's even when you talk about where you came from, that means you went to Howard University basically poor. And there's nothing wrong with that. We come from enslaved people. There's nothing wrong with going to Howard. Most of the kids who go to Howard University are poor or from working class families. Most of them are not elite people. So there's nothing wrong with that. There's something problematic, however, with kind of pulling the ladder up after you get through. Okay? And so some people will be like, well, I mean, what do you mean in terms of government, in terms of Howard University? Howard University, what do you mean about government monies? Well, hold on. There's a great article up at the New York Times, and it says historically black colleges is rocked by the economy. Okay, and here's the quote that I want to read to you. Founded by church organizations and white philanthropists in 1867, Howard had a mission to educate newly freed blacks after the Civil War. As a result, though it is a private university, Howard has enjoyed special appropriations from the federal government, about $200 million a year over the last decade. But as a result of congressionally mandated across-the-board cuts, aka the sequester, that was Obama, Howard has lost $12 million a year. Howard has lost $12 million a year. If you want to find this article, it's called Hard Times at Howard U, and it's at the New York Times. Just Google that, Hard Times at Howard U. $200 million. Now, and they're losing $12 million because of the sequester a year. Now, what do you want, Yvette? What do you want from her? I want to have this conversation with her, but if I can't, I want you to understand that this is something that the Howard that you went to does not exist without the government.
Say that again. That's important.
The Howard University that you went to, that you brought up on The View, does not exist without the government. There's no do-for-self amount of money that makes Howard University exist without government funding.
But what if they passed their hand to all of the black alumni and they passed the hat to all of the sorority and fraternity members? You saying?
Did you see that piece that Darity came out with another study, which has a counterpoint that says college-educated black women are worth negative $11,000. Negative $11,000. There is no extra money to pass the hat around and get it. It does not exist in a meaningful way. Now, some other good statistics. The aide, when around the time that Omarosa, given her age, was on welfare, she received that pre-Clinton gutting of welfare, probably at least for part of her early life, right? It was a federal assistance program in effect from 1935 to 1996 until Bill Clinton killed it. He killed it by making it into block grants. That's how Bill Clinton, to drill it down. Remember I gave you all that article last week. If you didn't watch last week, go back, do your homework. He made it into block grants, and that gives it over to the state. The state can do what they want to do, and that usually means gutting the program. If that happens to Medicaid, it will be gutted again. Like Medicaid will get gutted. We've already lost so much of welfare. So what we want is what we would like to see is for Omarosa to reinstate the program that fed her. If you came up on welfare and if you had access to like reinstate that. Why wouldn't you? It made you. Look at you. Omarosa's on The View doing her thing.
Well, we assume that her mom didn't have all the work requirements that states put in, because that's what happened when it became a block grant.
But that didn't happen until '96, right?
Right. But once it became a block grant, then states got the authority to tie all of their requirements, particular and disproportionately in a way that affects black people, to them. So like once you make it from a federal program to a state program, black people are done.
And it became kind of a slush fund too. They could administer it through churches and any other kind of corporation they wanted to. They could cut costs. All of this stuff was happening. And then you go to Section 8 housing. That refers to the Housing Act of 1937.
A contested bill.
This is like FDR. We're talking about FDR, like the things that, from what you said, and I'm just going by Omarosa's word, the things that undergirded to create this person that we see today on The View. And I respect you. I respect what you're doing. I respect your project. But the things that undergirded you, you can't say that nobody did anything for me. That is government programs working on your behalf.
People fought. They wrote speeches. They fought. They got votes. They hustled. Like all of those are contested programs. They didn't have to happen. There didn't have to be a Section 8. They didn't have to be a Howard. If we think and Howard could go away if we don't keep contesting.
It can go away. All HBCUs can go away.
They can go away. And we'll be like, remember that time there used to be a Howard University?
Yeah, remember that time there were black schools? I can't believe there were black schools. Can you believe
Plural?
that?
Black schools?
African-American schools. With an S. I mean, it wasn't just private white schools. No, there used to be historically black colleges. Sit around my knee, children, and let me tell you about these historically black colleges. Okay? So even that, and she says public schools. But Trump has suggested, someone who is in favor of charter schools, turning everything over to privatization. But you said that you come from public schools. And from what I can see, by the way you handle the women on that panel, the public schools did all right by you.
Yeah. And also, the charter schools are for parents who don't want to be next to people on welfare.
Yeah.
They're for black parents who don't want
to be next to somebody on welfare.
They don't want to be next to somebody on welfare.
So they don't want to be next to a young Omarosa. That's not what they want.
That's not
what
they choose.
That's not what they want at all. So I mean, the next thing is, Central State University, which was originally Wilberforce University. Remember, Omarosa mentioned that. Central State University, originally Wilberforce University, founded by the AMEs in 1863 and was later taken over by the Ohio legislature as an HBCU in 1887. Like, what? And this goes to kind of the problem of Black Americans, that we don't realize how much of who we are and how much of what we have is undergirded by government cash flow. Like, we don't realize that. We don't realize how much of the project of Black life is undergirded by government. How all of these things, and this is what we do. I mean, you see kind of Ben Carson say that too. Like, his thing is to diminish, to decrease, the amount of people who are on subsidized housing or whatever. But isn't that kind of what, wasn't your mom a single mom, and didn't she have to deal with that? Like, isn't that, and you're a brain surgeon. So the only thing that we're asking is that you give Black people the same access and the same opportunity through government programs that was afforded to you. I don't think that that's a lot, to necessarily ask. And after that, did we show the other clip? We showed
the other part too.
She just kind of, she bested everybody on the panel. Those public schools did all right.
Yeah.
Howard University did all right.
Right.
Wilberforce did all right.
And she made a very good point that I think we can give her plaudits on. She said Obama's approach to help everybody had a habit of forgetting Black people.
It did, because you have to have. She's right. I mean, she's exactly right.
Thank you, Omarosa. Thank you, Omarosa. Yes.
He did have a project of saying we're going to lift everybody up by the same thing. No, that's not how any of this. You can't do that. Again, what I say all the time, that's not how any of this works. Unless it's a Black thing, it's no thing. Because that means everybody gets a hold to it, everybody gets a piece of it. So Omarosa's exactly right when she says, well, Obama had a habit of basically, just kind of saying, well, it's everybody. Yeah, it was an Obama cop-out. We all know, everybody here, if you read and watch what I say, you know that was an Obama cop-out. That was one of the easiest ways and the best ways that he copped out. That's what he did. So
In America,
I think she's right to call that out.
If you have it for everybody, it ends up helping white women.
Yeah, it ends up helping. I mean, and she's right. I mean, there's no better person to call that duplicity out than Omarosa. There's no, you can't, there's no like, you know how people say they come from old money, black money. You know, she comes from the hood. You can't accuse her of that. So there's nobody better to call that out than her. Right? There's nobody better to say, like, this is BS. And I'm happy that she understands that that's BS. And I think she did a very good job of kind of going down. You know, she mentioned the statistic that we mention here all the time about Chicago's unemployed, how half the men there are not at work and they're not at school. So what are they doing? They don't have opportunity. You know, she's had some death in her own life. And we can talk about what that means. So I mean, I think she, you know,
got some good things right. And then she got some.
And I think this is what we have to be able to do. Like, this is what we have to be able to do. We have to be able to simultaneously say, this is where we think this is kind of problematic, this direction that you're going. But we are still your friends. We are not, you know, hostile towards you and your project. We think this is your project and you're the best person to be in that specific position. That's fine. But we have to say, hey, you know, this is what we do all the time. On this one thing right here, you got to pump your brakes a little bit.
Right.
Because you can't say nobody helped me. You can't say nobody helped. Nobody helped Omarosa. You can be proud of everything you overcame, but you can't say you weren't helped. You know, in a very meaningful way. And so I think of the example that, you know, I was talking to somebody probably early this weekend, and they said something to the effect of, what do you want us to do, Yvette? Do you want us to go? Do you think we should go to the government hat in hand? Is that what you want black people to do? And I'm saying, when have you ever done anything but that? When have black people ever done anything but, you know, the conversation that we're hearing is basically, it basically just kind of leads you to believe that at some point, black people took over the government. Or at some point, black people waged an insurrection and held people hostage or something strange. And so, a revolution. And so we took over stuff. And so we're not going to come hat in hand. That never happened.
Honestly, let's be a little bit more fair than that. Like, white people do that too. They just call it lobbying.
Yeah. But that's
the way the American political economy works.
Here's what's different. Like, we don't have a choice. Like, if white people wanted to put together a revolution, they could.
Right.
Like, how, like, that's not a possibility. Even if you wanted to, it's nothing that I support anyway, because I know what that looks like. Right. But even if you wanted to, it's an impossibility in terms of some type of these sort of imaginings that we have in terms of, well, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do that, and I think I'm gonna do this. So I just think we have to have this conversation in terms of the thing that we do wrong all the time is that we can't ever make a good case for government. We can't ever make a good case for how government has helped us. Everybody feels ashamed of, like, government has helped me at some point.
Except the bankers. The bankers don't feel bad, and I suspect the auto industry doesn't feel bad.
They don't care.
They're like, this is how this works.
They don't care, and you shouldn't care. I mean, why should you care if government helped you? Of course government helped you. You came from slaves. Of course you got help from government.
Government put you in slaves? Like, they put you in chains?
Yeah, so why? I mean, it's just like somebody beating you, and then they come back and they say, "Oh my God, I'm sorry I beat you, but I got an ambulance now, and I got a trauma center, and you know, the police told me I got to drive this ambulance and pick you up or something because I really shouldn't have done it in the first place." And then you're like, "Well, I don't want to get on the ambulance. I feel fine." No, there's no way that you could be fine. There's no way that's possible. Okay, so, I mean, that's the first thing I think we have to handle as an order of business, and I think we can move on. I think we can move on because I think I think both of those clips were great.
Yeah,
but I mean,
something she got right, and then something she might not have.
Yeah, and I think both of those things are, you know, admirable. I think both of those positions are, and I understand what it means, but I'm just saying, like, let's be honest. And let's just have an honest conversation about who we are and how we got here. And I don't think we're so ready to say nobody gave me anything that we don't want to admit, yeah, I was really kind of helped by government. Yeah. And government helped me become this eloquent person who got on The Apprentice and did her thing and has remained successful since then. Government helped me get there. There's no shame whatsoever in saying that.
No,
It's
if you're
a
a
beautiful
descendant
thing.
of slave, like where else is the money going to come from? Your parents were slaves, like your grandparents, like that's how this works.
Yeah, that's the legacy, that's the lineage. So the next thing I want to go to, ladies and gentlemen, I know you all remember. If you don't remember, then you haven't been with me that long, and what's your problem? But I know you all remember, I talked about the Negro Whisperers. Yes, I did. I always talk about the Negro Whisperers, and I always talked about the Black Splainers. And I can't remember where I picked up the Negro Whisperer. I think it was from a book.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Colson Whitehead.
Yeah. So hated that first book though. So
I'm not the biggest fan. Paul Beatty though is dope. But yeah.
Was it Colson or was it another writer?
I think it was Colson Whitehead.
I don't want to give credit where credit's not due.
It might be Paul Beatty. It might be Paul Beatty, actually.
It might be Paul Beatty.
Yeah, it was Paul Beatty because Colson Whitehead.
I don't think it was Colson Whitehead.
Because Colson Whitehead's not that guy.
Yeah, he's not that guy.
Paul Beatty is though.
Paul Beatty is. I think it was probably Paul Beatty. Yeah. So I think that's where the Negro Whisperer thing came from. And so I always use the term to describe the people who worked for MSNBC, whose job it was to explain blackness and explain Obama and everything that came with Obama to white people. So we had all these Negro Whisperers on MSNBC. You all remember? We had all of them.
Call the roll.
And I predicted.
Call the roll. Go ahead.
Oh, who is the roll? It was so many of them.
Oh,
it was all. I don't even remember them no more. It was.
Well,
we know it was Melissa Harris Perry. We know it was Al Sharpton, and we know it was some other people who came on there every now and again, and they thought they probably weren't going to go anywhere. I remember Goldie Taylor. Was on there too, and she went off on Twitter when she got kicked off, and I just don't understand why anybody was surprised. I'm not making fun of anybody losing their job. That's a traumatic thing, but you all should have expected that. That was my only point. That you are here. That's why you're here. Like when he goes away, you go away. Be like a squirrel with your nuts and just stack them up. Because when this black man leaves, you gonna leave. That's what I kept telling y'all, and nobody wanted to listen to me. But it's okay because now you see what's happened. So what I'm trying to point out now, the way that this has manifested lately, it's taking a different turn. Like we saw the purging after Obama. We saw that go, and we knew the black people were going to get kicked out. They were going to spray some Negro be gone, and the black people were going to be gone. And so now the only person stuck there is Joanne Reed, and she's working like a field horse to keep her job, and she going to keep her job. And she done told y'all she ain't with y'all no way. So you had that. Now we have another transition. And I'm going to use this transition to point out something very important. You had going to NBC, you had Megyn Kelly. Now put that beautiful bean footage up.
Well, I got Jelani Cobb's tweet. You want something else?
No. Put it up. Yeah, we got that up. And so look at what he said. I want you to read what Jelani Cobb says. Like he seems very perplexed.
Jelani Cobb
seems confused. He seems perplexed. Like NBC is bringing in this woman who said what she said about this judge just making like these jokes. Well, it's racist jokes, but she said they were just it was just office humor. It wasn't no big deal. And he seems like like wow, like why they're bringing in this Fox News conservative. Like why are they doing that? He doesn't understand. He seems not to understand exactly why that's going on. Because NBC is supposed to be liberal. That's what we've all been told. Right. We've all been told that this is a liberal network and these are liberal people. So why would they be bringing in Megyn Kelly?
What did Tamron Hall ever do to you? What did Tamron Hall ever do?
Tamron, what did all these people, they gone. So what's going on?
Al Walker never hurt anybody.
Never hurt anybody.
Let
me tell you, when he started saying that stuff, that he started telling the truth about that swimmer, his days were numbered. When he started telling the truth about that swimmer, you saw that clip? His days were numbered. I can't remember the little swimmer's name. The next part, you see another one. You see another. What's the child's name? Greta. Ooh, Greta Van Susteren. That's another Fox News one. That's another one from Fox making her way over to MSNBC.
Oh, that's not a picture of Tamron Hall? No. Okay.
No.
I got confused.
6 o'clock. She's on prime time now. I turned over there one day. I didn't know what was going on. Greta? And people seem to be like, oh, I read the tweets. People are like, oh my God, what is Greta Van Susteren doing on MSNBC?
Making moves.
How long do I have to talk about this, people? How long do I have to talk about that there is no ideology among capital holders? How much do I have to tell you all? This was never, it's just like with Obama. During the Obama administration, the MSNBC wasn't a liberal network. They were doing that because that's where the money was. Because that's who the president was. This is supposed to be a liberal guy. This is a Democratic president. So we're going to try to get those viewers because people are going to be talking about the president, and the president's a Democrat. So we're going to put people in place who reflect who the president is. That's what we're going to do. That was the whole plan. That was the plan of capital to make money. Capital is about enriching itself. This is what capital holders do. And so now they're going in a different direction. They have to make money with a Republican president, with Trump, with Steve Bannon. So capital holders are going in a different direction. So they're going with Megyn Kelly. They're going with Greta Van Susteren. You never owned MSNBC. That was never your network. I don't know why you were going around talking about how awful Fox was and how wonderful MSNBC was. They were just gaming you for money.
That's you're wrong, Yvette. That's cold.
Girl, that's how they were doing.
That's cold.
It was just giving you a product. Don't you understand that all this is about giving you a product to make money off of? This is about a product. It's not about you. It's not about ideology. They don't care about your ideology. They don't care about what you think about racial profiling, what you think about the budget. They're just doing what they have to do. They have to pattern match this president. They have to match this president, put people in office who can speak to this president and pull that viewership. You know how many people Megyn Kelly's gonna bring over from who enjoyed her on Fox News? She's gonna bring in those conservatives where she goes. Greta Van Susteren is gonna bring in conservatives. Just like Melissa Harris Perry brought in black people and black women and people who want to talk about their hair. And people who want to talk about, all things racial. She brought in those people. Now those people are out.
But we don't want those views. Megyn Kelly said that Santa Claus is white.
Well, he just ain't real. I mean, what?
Well, no, I know. I'm just saying that, NBC doesn't care what Megyn Kelly said.
No, they
she doesn't care.
They don't care as long as she brings in views. And that's what,
views.
And people get caught up. You know what? I remember there was this great, I don't know if you all remember this, but there was this, what's going on? There was this great, I don't know what to call it, but a while back there was this thing. And there was this article and people tried to squash it, but it was about Ariana Huffington. And it was about the Huffington Post. And Breitbart, before he passed away, Andrew Breitbart said, I started the Huffington Post. And nobody wanted to really talk about it. And Ariana didn't want to really talk about it. But she never really contradicted him in any kind of meaningful way. She was like, no, it wasn't like that, blah, blah, blah. But she never really said, no, I was never in business with Andrew Breitbart. That's not who I am. But I remember when Huffington Post came out, everybody on Huffington Post was like, oh my God, we finally have a voice. And this is finally our time. Well, yeah, you might have a voice, but this is not about you. This is not about you at all. This is about capital. Capital seeing an opportunity to make money. It's not about doing something for you. It's not about moving in a direction that's good for you. It's about, hey, I see an opportunity here. There's no liberal magazine to cover people. So I see what's happening here. So I see a niche in the market, and I want to take advantage of that niche. That's what she was doing. She wasn't doing anything in terms of, that what's moral or what capital doesn't care about what's moral. And this is what we're living through. I want you to think about everything I just said in the context of historic income inequality, right? I want you to think about all of that in the context of historic income inequality. And think about what that means. Capital is stronger now than it's ever been, at least in my lifetime. But if you look at Thomas Piketty, this is forever. Maybe there was some competition during the Gilded Age, but this is the strongest capital has ever been. And you live in the richest country in the world. What do you think that means? This is what we're seeing. Capital is taking advantage of everything. Capital has power. And so if Hillary Clinton had won, we would have seen, if Hillary Clinton had won, we would have seen like more liberal white women at the network. We would have seen a lot more Rachel Maddows at networks. That's just how capital's moving right now. It doesn't make any difference what you want. It doesn't make any difference what you feel is fair. I mean, you should, if you get a chance, you should look at Ariana Huffington's book about sleep, where she goes into like this thing about how, people need to sleep more. But that's the way capital holders are. Never giving any thought to like why you ain't sleeping. Like maybe stress is keeping you up. Maybe not making enough money is keeping you up. All of this stuff. So this is the direction capital doesn't have, like, people talk about the invisible hand of the market. Well, the hand might be invisible, but it also don't have a heart. And it don't have an ideology. It's just going in the direction of money. That's just kind of where we are. And that's the only place where we are. So, I wanted to bring that up to just kind of, once again, go to what I said before in terms of when I warned, hey, the Negro whisperers are going to go away. And we saw that they did go away. We saw that they are gone. And that's nothing that anybody or anything can do about it. They are gone. They were going to be gone. And so it just kind of, it kind of reflected back to me how flat-footed we were. You saw, and I'm not opposed to any of these people. I'm not trying to tear them down. I'm just saying that, you saw Goldie Taylor go on a rant. You saw Melissa Harris Perry go off, and the last time I saw her, she was doing an interview. The last time I saw her, she was doing an interview with somebody. On doing an interview with I don't know who she was doing an interview with. She was Alicia Garza from Black
Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter in a shoe store. See how Capitol works? They had to put these people in front of shoes to sell shoes to put them on. That's what they were doing. That's the last
Are you serious about that?
I think she did something about Obama too.
I know she works for L, but did she really get Alicia Garza in a shoe store?
Yes, she did. You can look it up.
I don't want to.
You can look it up.
Make me feel bad.
I'm just telling you the truth. Really? I'm just telling you the truth. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's really pay close attention to capital and understand that you're not working with a person. You're not working with a series of individuals. You're working with capital. And capital does not care. Capital is not interested. Capital will make you into a Negro whisperer and spit you out and not care about how your family is going to eat. And only thing I'm saying, I'm not even saying don't take the opportunity. I'm saying when you take the opportunity, understand that it's not going to last long. Understand that they have a motive. So just stack your cash while you can and be ready to spit out, because that's what's going to happen. These people don't owe you anything in terms of your government owes you something. These capital holders are not going to give you anything. And it doesn't matter how they got their money. So I think that's something that we need to start understanding, especially in terms of somebody said Flats Lives Matter. Especially in terms of where we're going, you have to understand. There's no way you can exist and not understand capital. So the one thing you got to do, you got to take yourself off Instagram. I don't need you spending all this kind of time talking about New Edition and talking about and watching people and talking about how awful it was that a band that was around, some little boys singing that was around 20 years ago. I don't want you to talk about that. And you know what? The thing is, I didn't even know that the Falcons was going to be in the Super Bowl until somebody told me. Because I don't know. I don't pay attention. I was talking to a friend not long ago talking about how people go through all kinds of stuff to feed their body right, but don't feed their mind. That's a problem. Because when you don't feed your mind, you don't really understand what's going on around you. And when we have the people at the top who don't understand what's happening, what do you think that means for everybody else? That's a problem. And I'll tell you what's also a problem. This is a good segue. I'll tell you what's also a problem. What's also a problem is our reaction to immigration. I'm going to say it one more time. What's also a problem is our reaction to immigration. Let me get comfortable. Ladies and gentlemen.
Uh-oh.
This is really let me tell you, this is really becoming an issue for me. And, one thing, I realize that everybody has a short memory. And so what I try to do in terms of the conversations that I have, I try to bring stuff up since there's no, racial collective memory of something that happened, 10 years ago, not let alone 25, 35, 45 years ago, because then you have to climb into a book or an article to get it. So when we're talking about immigration, let me frame it in a specific way. I was very bothered over the weekend seeing African Americans who are members of a community that's basically in collapse right now. When you look at the numbers of black people without jobs, the number of black men in jail, black women, worth negative 11,000. When you look at all of that.
Who went to college?
When you look at all of this is a community in collapse, right? And nobody's rescuing us. But there were a few people who were detained at airports because of President Trump's executive order. Now, mind you, black men are in jail 10,000 per 100,000, but y'all ain't at the jail for them. Y'all ain't doing nothing for these black women who ain't got no money or everything that's happened in their lives. You're not doing that for them. But we're gonna be at the airport trying to help these people and protesting with these people. So let me take it all the way back. Let me take it all the way back when I discuss citizenship and what citizenship is supposed to mean for us. Not what citizenship is supposed to mean for everybody. What citizenship is supposed to mean for us. There's a reason why our ancestors, and I'll say this till I'm blue in the face. They fought for us to be citizens for a specific reason. They fought for our inclusion in America for a specific reason, because citizenship is supposed to mean something. What are you? The citizenship is supposed to mean something. Okay? So let me just put up, I'm going to put up a clip, and I'm going to put it up a clip, and I'm going to tell you where it's from. The clip is from something that happened to us in 2005. And I understand, like, something, you might be 20 years old and you don't remember it. But this right here is Hurricane Katrina. This is Hurricane Katrina. When a hurricane hit us on American soil, when a mostly black community, it took days for the government to come in and do something for us. It took a long time for the government to come in and do something for us. Sanctuary cities were not set up for us. As a matter of fact, a lot of states were talking about how they didn't want Katrina people to come from their states, and they called us refugees. And then they said, well, refugees just means somebody's fleeing, as if definitions don't have a connotation and a denotation.
And if you're a citizen, that means you're not fleeing anywhere. You're still in America.
You're still in America.
You're just going to Houston.
Yeah, you're just going to Houston. But people said they didn't want they didn't want poor people. They don't want poor people, they want immigrants. What does that tell you about how your citizenship in this country has been diluted? To the fact that, to the point that these people who came here illegally are in sanctuary cities are better than you. Now, if Trump put together a vetting process that says these people require extra vetting, I have no problem with taking up like how it was written and the language and how attorneys didn't get a chance to oversee it. That's all fair game. But you're not going to tell me, when nobody showed up for black people, that we're supposed to somehow show up for everybody else, that we're supposed to show people who were just detained. You got black people in jail for nonviolent offenses for years, for decades, and these people were just detained. They were eventually let go. But we act like this is the worst thing that's ever happened.
Yeah, maybe a lot of black people had to cancel their trips to Yemen. And like,
none of us, that's the thing, they're like, let me show you how they trick us with the data. They trick us with the data real bad. This is how they trick us with the data.
You're not
they
going
say,
to Tehran?
They say they'll just make up a statistic. They'll say, 10,000 Americans per year travel to Tehran. Well, those aren't Americans in the way we normally think of Americans. Now, what do you mean, Yvette? Well, I mean, that's somebody with a mama and daddy in Tehran, and they going back to visit their grandmama or mama or daddy or whatever. That's not like a regular. That's not like Bubba. That's not like Raekwon. That's not like no, you're going back because you got people there. If you don't have people in Iran, if you don't have people in Yemen, or you're not doing work there, you typically not traveling there. Like, stop making this stuff up. And if they have to go through that kind of extra scrutiny, that's what they have to go through. I don't have anything to do that. The government didn't show up for me. The government didn't show up for us when all that stuff happened. We were out there with American flags waving them around, and nobody was coming. But you want to go there and like, this is the worst thing that ever. No, the worst thing that ever happened is putting a whole bunch of black people in jail. The worst thing that ever happened is how welfare reform destroyed black life and a lot of white life too. These are some of the worst things that ever happened. Like, don't tell me. I'm a part of a community it's like people have been living off of us, like off of our failure. So when we don't do well, we need the liquor store. They put liquor stores in our community. So when we need money and we don't have access to capital, they put title pawn shops in our community. All these people have been eating off of, capitalists everywhere have been eating off of our failure. But you want me to go out there because somebody from Iran got held up at an airport? Like, I don't understand what that's supposed to mean. Like, I don't understand what we're supposed to be doing. I don't understand what my responsibility is supposed to be. Like, the one thing that this whole immigrant move has taught me is how little, just to see it in real life, you always know it, but to know how little black people's lives matter in America, to the point to where everybody's at the airport protesting over these immigrants. But when black people go to jail, nobody shows up at the jail. Nobody shows up at the prison. Nobody, you can make your mouth say anything. So you can get together with me and say, oh, Yvette, I'm opposed to that too. Yeah, but you ain't done nothing about it. These people just got delayed at an airport. That we built. Like immigrants didn't, like these immigrants who are coming, like a lot of these people who are getting sanctuary, any of that. About, I don't see anybody setting up shelter for us.
Right.
Do you see any of the immigrants saying, you know what, black people, you all are treated wrong,
and
we're going to make it easy for you?
Like, I think you should drill down. I would drill down hard on that. It's not as if we're spending the last 30 years watching immigrants. The first thing they get off the plane, first thing they do when they get off the plane is saying, you know what, America's got to treat black people better.
Yeah.
The first thing you do when you get off the plane is organize for reparations for descendants of slaves. That's not what they're here for. Like, until that's what they're here for, I think it's almost irresponsible for us to be here for them like that.
Oh, and put up that. I want you to put up that ACLU. Put up that ACLU where the ACLU raised $24 million for immigrants. When last time ACLU was able to raise $24 million for black people who've been wrongly incarcerated? Black people who've been treated bad in Ferguson. You remember what happened in Ferguson? Like, I'm not saying they didn't do anything, but when we found out how the city of Ferguson was actively just attacking black people in terms of just stopping them all the time to get tickets, using all of it, just riding on the backs of black people. When we found out that was happening, nobody said they should that the ACLU needed $24 million to ride for us. Nobody said anything about that.
Or
the
suing
Justice
government in
Department did
Flint.
that.
Or suing the governor and the EPA in Flint. Like the ACLU could have taken that as a civil right.
Nobody said we gotta get an ACLU a bunch of money for this. Nobody said that for us. Nobody did anything for us. They said, oh, that show is a shame, and moved on. And some of them didn't even say that. But let me tell you what this shows. When you ask me, like, Yvette, what does this mean? And I think we're going to put the phone number up in a second. I was going to go to the phones in a moment. Yeah. But nobody asked, like, what does this mean? Let me tell you what this means. People don't understand that some immigrants, a lot of these immigrants are advantaged. We tend to think of immigrants all as disadvantaged people. This wasn't all just money given from liberals to ACLU. A lot of this probably came from people who were in those countries, right? Because these people are not even there, were represented by organizations in this country. Or money was funneled by people who live like if you're an Iranian and you got stopped. People who live in Iran and said, we're going to find a way to get money to the ACLU because this is hurting our people. All of that happens. That's the value of having a homeland. That's the value of having somewhere to go home to. And if something pops off in this country, these people can go home. You have nowhere to go. I have nowhere to go. This is our home. We ain't got nowhere to go. So that's the advantage of having a homeland, is that you can use the leverage of that government that exists in your homeland to kind of bring pressure to bear on the United States government as far as they can. You can use that as leverage. You can have people back home in your homeland give money for your defense. So you didn't just see just individual liberals who I'm sure gave money, but you also saw something else. You saw people back home funneling money to wherever these people were who were being discriminated against. You saw all of that happen. Even in terms of the illegal immigrants that come from Mexico, you see pressure being brought by the president of Mexico. We don't have a president of African America who lives over there and can say, hey, leave my people alone, or this is what I want to do, or I have all this oil and I'm going to let you have any oil if you treat African Americans wrong. We don't have any of that. These people have an advantage that we don't have. And y'all going out there marching and doing all this stuff for them for what?
And they're also getting private capital strategically, right?
Yeah.
So the Starbucks CEO says he vows to hire 10,000 refugees. Now, Timothy Snipes on YouTube says, Starbucks CEO vows to hire 10,000 refugees. How about 10,000 convicted black former felons? Why don't you hire them?
Why don't you hire them?
Give them a
Why don't you hire them?
Give them a good little, yeah.
And it's not
They're citizens.
They're
citizens.
Why don't you just hire them? And this is his thing, his whole process. Like Trump's whole process isn't just about refugees. It's about everybody traveling from those parts of the countries. You don't know what those people have. You don't know what, if you're coming from Syria, we know you probably don't have anything. That country's destroyed. You're a refugee. But we're not only dealing with refugees, we're dealing with everybody who comes from these countries, these countries that were set aside. And we're dealing with what that means. And that a country actually exists. These people, I'm Iranian, I'm Syrian, I'm from Yemen, or whatever. Like, you're dealing with all of that. We don't have there's something that comes with having a home country. There's something what comes with like I have somewhere, and if you want, if you're here from Iran and something pops off, like I said, you can go home. I don't, America's, there's unrest in America. I want to leave. We don't have anywhere to go, and so we need to stop thinking of ourselves as like this, everybody else's advantage, and and everybody else is at a disadvantage. Everybody else is like below us. We tend to think of like, haven't you looked at the data?
Everyone else is below us.
Haven't you looked at the data? Like economically, we're at the bottom.
Yeah.
Haven't you looked at the data?
Yeah, they have in some ways they have an easier time getting loans, but like
there's a whole lot that goes. It's more complicated than just all those poor immigrants. I'm not speaking out one way or the other in terms of what Trump should do, in terms of what he should do in terms of his vetting process. That's not my role. So don't interpret it like, oh, Yvette's in favor of the vetting. No, I don't. I'm not taking a position one way or the other towards the vetting. I'm not doing that.
I will take a position towards immigrants, saying that like, look, if you want us to be allies, if you want black people to be allies in this kind of situation, you probably should, advocate for redress and justice for black Americans. Like you can't just come here and eat.
I'm not gonna be here for people who aren't, and you have to be for me vocally. It's not just you being for me. Is not me and you just having a conversation where you say, "Vet, I agree with you."
Yeah.
No, I need you to kind of stand up.
I need you to stand up. And let's be honest, you can't stand up if your papers aren't right. You're not standing.
Yeah, you're in the shadows for a reason.
Yeah. If you don't have papers, you're not standing up for anybody. So like, we got to fix this. We have an immigration problem, and the Democrats aren't necessarily your friend because, like I said before, they like their cheap nannies and cheap gardeners more than they like justice for black people. So like,
yeah. And like somebody said on the thing, felons actually have skills.
Yeah.
I mean, you can work as a barista.
Yeah, they're still citizens are back. Yeah.
Yeah, you can say like,
barista.
listen, I know that people have policies. They're not going to hire ex-felons. We are going to hire ex-felons. We're going to have a policy. We're going to hire ex-felons. We're going to train them, and we're going to bring them in here because they need a way to live because they've been incarcerated for so long. That has never.
That's what America's about.
Yeah, that's what America's about, and I want them to have access to the American dream. It never happened. So I think get ready to go to the phones because. I want to hear what you all have to say on the 3 topics that we kind of hit on tonight, and because I just don't get it. I just don't get. Like somebody else said, just wrote in there. That's the value of having an economy. Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
It is the value of having an economy. So. Yep. What's the call-in number, everybody?
Oh.
Come on.
Well, we got a full call-in slot, but I'll put it up.
Yeah, just put up just in case.
Hello, you on?
Yeah, how you doing?
Hey, Yvette. I'm the guy that you didn't friend on Facebook, and I called you a call last time I called. But I have to give credit where credit was due. When you said Katrina, that hit home because I live in Beaumont, so Rita hit us a month later, and there was a course correction. Because all our zip codes, we were able to get money, and then the people I worked for gave us loans, so we were straight as far as black folks here. When Rita hit, we got the people from New Orleans, and then they had to run when Rita hit because they were here when Hurricane Rita hit us. So there was a course correction.
All right.
And yeah, I'm starting to agree with you on marching for women, white women, and marching for immigrants. Ain't nobody marched for us.
That's the thing. And I think they will if we press them. But we gotta play hardball.
Okay, there's a delay. I'm looking at you on video, but I hear you on the phone, so you had to excuse me. But
no problem.
I just want to give credit where credit is due. This hit home when you showed people in New Orleans. I was like, yeah, I remember that because I'm 50 years old, so I don't miss nothing.
I know.
But I want you to hold. You say you got Omarosa up there, and we got Dr. Ben up there. Please hold these people's feet to the fire because I don't know, Yvette. I don't know. And one day you had to explain to me what's wrong with banking black. But I'm gonna go ahead and get off the phone. But I just want to give you credit where credit is due, Mama.
I appreciate it.
Send y'all money.
All right, I appreciate you. And I think one day we do have to do that. And I think one day we will have to do that banking black conversation.
We can get Jared Ball.
I think we will have to do that because Jared has done some Jared Ball. If you're watching, Google him, but he's done some good work on that. So I think if we can get him, I think that would be a great conversation.
Hey, look, it's no. I'll tell you right now. Go ahead and bank black. That's fine. Good, do it. Bank black. But
Yeah, because what I'm asking is, I guess for me is, can we do all of the above? You know,
Sure.
they got people that saying we should be buying vacant lots. Like a vacant lot in Beaumont, I could be growing food there. You know what I'm saying? We should take all the above approach. While the government is being while the government is being petitioned, and good luck with that. But while you petition the government, we should be doing things at home to improve our own lot. So whenever the opportunity does come, we'll be in a better position to negotiate. Because again, I think we're negotiating from a position of weakness. I still hold that position.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's just me.
Okay. No, you can have your opinion. I just listen. I think in terms of what people think is going to come from banking black. Like
Right.
people think that I'm going to put my money in a black bank and I'm going to, and that is going to be a source of uplift. I just don't see how that's possible. And like I said, we'll have to do a show on that, but I just don't see how that's possible. Some of the banks are just like, not only
They have a fiduciary responsibility to invest your money into white companies.
huh?
They have a fiduciary responsibility to invest your money into white companies. So it's not like you
Yeah.
bank black and it all just goes back to like.
So it goes back to black people, because how could they do that?
No,
like how could they do that? And some of them are just like processing centers. Like you
Yeah.
see them, that you go on their website, it's like, well, we don't do loans and we don't do this, we don't, and it's just like.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll have to have a show. You're right. We do have to have a show where
It's
we
good.
really drill down on.
And it's not like it might give. It's good for a few black bankers and like their employees. So it's not nothing, right?
Yeah,
If
and
it's
I'm
all
not
the
saying
same.
it is.
Yeah. All right. So we'll do a show on it. Keep it going.
Yep.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
You're on.
Is this Yvette?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, the reason why I watch this show is I like the fact that you speak about getting money back in black people's hands.
Yes.
And I just saw a video that was speaking about David Nielsen. I keep on posting this message. Look at the messages right here. David Nielsen is the man who sold BET, then he bought JetBlue Airlines. Now he's trying to bankroll a black political party, and I just thought I might pass that message on to you. Maybe you could contact him some kind of way, because I'm all about progress.
Okay. I didn't see the message, but I'll check it.
No,
You sent my email? You sent it the email? I'll check
So
it.
I just wanted to get that message on you, you know what I'm saying? Because the man is a billionaire. So that's somewhere to start. He got some money.
I know. I think I've seen that he said something about an independent black party. Yeah, I did see that. So yeah, but thank you.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Bye-bye.
You have a good one.
I never heard about this. Who's this?
We'll talk about it. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Sounds good.
Yes, ma'am. Miss Yvette, Mr. Irony.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, this is Cha Cha from Springfield, Missouri.
Oh.
How you doing?
I'm good. What I have to talk about today, it has some sort of what you all are talking about. But this kind of took place. And by the way, I'm sorry. I live about Springfield, Missouri, about 200 miles outside of Ferguson, aka St. Louis, Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
So this happened about January last year. They made an announcement in Springfield that they were hiring 100, I think it was Malaysians, 100 nurses from Malaysia. By the way, they built up like 3 or 4 brand new hospitals here. They said it was a hiring shortage of nurses. They're hiring outside of the country. Now, Trump just issued an immigrant ban, and this, when the hospitals started bringing the nurses over here, they announced this last year, January last year.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it was already, they brought some people over here, but now it's in effect this year. Now, this is just Springfield, Missouri. What about the other places where they're teaching people in?
I hear you.
Yeah.
Whose job, are they taking? And by the way, we're getting more refugees. And in St. Louis, they have a huge amount of refugees. I remember back in the 90s, I was a little girl, about 12, 13. I think we got like 10,000 Bosnians.
Oh.
They have their own community. They don't pay taxes. They have their own shops. They have their own newspapers. You know, a lot of people don't know this, and they're still getting Social Security. They're still getting the welfare. Their kids still go to the best schools, you know, around, and they, you know, they have to get different kinds of subsidies, you know, just to live here. While, you know, we descendants of slaves. We've been living here, like you said, 10 generations, however many generations, and we can't get anything.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, a lot of people probably don't even know this is going on. A lot of these companies, they're actually sending out for people to come over here. And the nurses that's coming from Malaysia, don't think that they're not sending money back home and bringing even more people over here.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to try and email you the article. You know, it's from it's in Springfield News Leader, just in case you want to look it up. But it was like 100 something nurses, you know, and like I said, they already put that in effect over here. And the hospitals that they're brand new, and they're bringing the people over here to work for, they're kind of suspect. You know, like the quality of the care there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I'm like, what does that mean for a lot of people? You know, not only looking for jobs, but I know nurses right now.
Well, you know what's interesting. You know, you talked about it's not far from St. Louis, and so the question, you know about what happened is we all know what's going on in St. Louis. We all heard about it. So the question becomes: are the Bosnians and Malaysians like marching with black people in St. Louis?
Yeah. Well, she's gone.
I mean, that becomes a question for everybody. I mean, so I want to thank the caller, but something she said was very interesting. What was part of what's happening is that we're not training American people for the jobs. We're just kind of importing all the time, regardless of how that impacts life of regular Americans, not just black Americans specifically, but regular Americans in general. That affects everybody. And then like in terms of bringing the Bosnians in and bring refugees in, like here's my thing. And here's my thing. People say, well, Yvette, that's selfish. Okay, fine. But my thing is, like, elites make these decisions that destroy people's lives. So you have NATO and everybody that went into Syria and destroyed people's lives, killed a bunch of people. And then, like, the people who bear the brunt of having to have their lives and have different people and have these influx of people are regular people who didn't do any of that.
No, disproportionately black people. Let's be honest.
But disproportionately black people, right. But it's like, it's even in other communities. Like,
right.
They're like, I was reading somewhere about the number of Somalians in some community. I can't remember which community. It might have been Minnesota.
Yeah.
But like, that's black people and some other people. Like right. Nobody, but regardless of like what kind of instability, that instability is caused by elites who never have to bear the brunt of it. Who they're never going to live next to anybody. Right. They're never going to live next to anybody except other white people. Right. So they never bear the brunt of any of their own decisions. So, you know, and so like she said, they have their own paper. So like where it used to be a time that if immigrant people came in, they were encouraged to assimilate and be like, it's America, it's wonderful. Like, you know, bring your stuff, it's a melting pot. Like there's no melting anymore in that sense. So I think part of the problem is that like everything that happens, no elite people, whether they be Democrats or Republicans, the elite don't have to bear the brunt of it. Yeah. The elite don't have to live in communities where opportunities are going to other people. It's not because anybody's mad at the other person, but jobs are jobs. Not because, you know, you're xenophobic and you hate other people, but jobs are being automated. Jobs are going away. Jobs are being outsourced. So if jobs are jobs, you want as many of those jobs as you can. You want to keep them.
So you said something interesting, and I think that was right. We don't do a very good job of educating our people for the jobs that we
talking
insource.
About nurses. Where are the American nurses at?
I mean, they exist. We could do better. We could do better.
We could do a lot better.
What we don't do, and what's important, I think, would solve, like not solve, but at least mitigate the immigration problem, because it is a political problem for Black Americans. Is we don't expect immigrants to be versed in American politics and the political debt that America owes to Black people. If part of what it is to be an American is to take on the debt that the country owes to Black people, there wouldn't have to be tension. But that's not what we think of immigrants. I mean, that's not the education into citizenship that we expect immigrants to have.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so like I said before,
but we want them to have that because we need them to have that. But does
for them to be political
does
responsible.
everybody else want them to have that? Like think about it. There's like the majority of the Republicans want them to have that. They love the fact that they don't have it.
No,
That's why they said it like that's why
come here and make a score. Step on whoever you have to. Treat those black people like you know what to do.
Like you're better than them. Like it's not even just like you're better than them. You are the good black. They the bad black. Because they know their rights and they keep fighting for them. Like, let's put you here. Let's insert you here. And so that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
And we got to educate people for these jobs in this country. Like, if you can't just be like, well, we need blah, 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 blah. No, did you see, that was a great, I don't know how long ago it was, I put up the thing about how minorities in tech how people who have STEM degrees and have science degrees don't get hired in tech. So you can't say like we don't have the talent here, so we have to go get H-1B visas. No, you don't. You have the talent. Just don't want to. You just can't pay them and work them like a workhorse like all week long. You can't work them 80 hours a week and pay them at the bottom of their scale because they're American. But you can do it to somebody else, to the guy who just came here from India.
That's exactly what's going on. That's exactly what's going on. Keep going.
Yeah, keep going.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, first of all, let me say thank you for what you do. I think you have an awesome show. It's an honor to be on the phone with you. I got mad respect for what you do because educating our people is so important.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay? No doubt. Now, I got 2 points I want to make, or better yet, 2 questions I want to put to you. Number one, I'm a conservative. I'm 43 years old. I'm black. You know what I'm saying? I was raised as a Democrat in my family, and for different reasons, I started listening to conservative radio, and I was feeling what they were saying, but at the same time, I knew it wasn't really meant for me. It wasn't meant for me as a black person. They, Rush Limbaugh, Glenn Beck, they got their conservative ideas, and they really mean that for white people. They say they mean it for everybody, and it can be effective for everybody, but at the same time, I know they don't mean it for me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And my first question is, how can we get something going basically like what you're doing? I noticed that Glenn Beck left the whole thing and just started his own network. We need black media with this point of view. Everybody black that I wanted to listen to was just a lapdog for liberals. I don't have that mindset. I'm not trying to push a homosexual agenda. I'm not trying to legalize a bunch of Mexicans. I have my own business, and I was forced out because I could not compete with Mexicans. So that's my first thing, man. How do we push black media from a conservative point of view, but not that white conservative point of view? That conservative point of view where we trying to conserve who we are as a people and what we have and what we can build if we get our mind right. And then the next thing is, I wasn't a Trump supporter, but at the same time, it's like, look, Trump is doing some things that can provide an environment for us to blossom if our mind is right. It's so sickening to me to listen to all these black people who just jump on the bandwagon and he's a racist because the news told you to believe that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm wondering, what is your specific view on Trump, and how can we make people understand that, look, I'm not for Trump or against Trump. I just expect Trump to create a situation in this country where I don't have to compete with all these different people, number one, that don't belong here. And I'm not here to advance the homosexual agenda. I'm not here to advance abortion. I'm here to advance what's going on with me and my people. So, if you want to get mad at me because I'm supporting Trump because he's creating that environment, it's not his whiteness that I'm in love with. I'm not in love with the man, period. I just want a politician to create a certain environment, and that's not what I'm getting from any Democrats, including Obama.
Okay. I hear you,
Are
but
you
thank
following
you.
me?
Thank you.
Yes, yes.
I'm gonna address. He made a lot of points.
Yeah, all of them good. Well, some of them good. Yeah, no, he's right.
So it's complicated,
I'm
right?
trying to be like you. Hopefully in the future you'll hear something from me. The name of my thing is Free Minds, and I'm in the infantile stages, but I want to be like you, man. I just want to spread the message. I'm going to get off the phone now. Thank you for the time. Hopefully we'll meet in person one day.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you. I think he's right in terms of like black media, right? Because that's how we get convinced to just like do whatever Democrats say. It's not even about. He asked me about my view of Trump. I don't have a view of any politician. Like my view of any politician is based on whatever policies they put forward, and then I evaluate that policy. I'm never like pro a politician or against a politician. You'll never hear me say like, oh, Obama's my president, or Trump's my president. I just evaluate each policy, and I really wish everybody else would just do that too.
Right.
Like, don't get on board with anybody. Like, because somebody could put something. Trump could put a policy like, I'm not in favor. Listen to this. I'm not in favor of open borders. I'm just not. I think a country needs borders. That's what I believe. Now, so Trump can do one thing this week about borders, and I'll say, you know what? That's a good thing. I'm not going to say like I'm pro-Trump. I'm going to say this thing right here is a good thing. Now, he does something next week and he blocked grants for Medicaid, which hurts people. Right? Then I'm going to say, you know what? That's a bad thing. Now, if I had been pro-Trump, I would have tried to explain it away. I would have tried to rationalize it and be like, it's not that bad. It's whatever, because I'm trying to defend Trump. So I have to be in a place where I'm trying to defend the values that mean something to me. And which is what I always talk about, putting money in black people's pockets. That's the thing. So that's what I'm trying to do. That's kind of my project. In terms of black media, I believe that black media is important, and it's mostly gone.
Now, you were telling me when you grew up, it used to be a little bit different.
I think I saw a little more media. I remember the Telecom Act happened. I didn't see as much, but I remember more like radio. I remember more people coming on saying stuff that I know that they can't say now. Like, I know that the kind of stuff that I heard, like maybe when I was like middle school and early teen, I know I wouldn't hear that anymore. Right. Like, I don't think I would hear that anymore. So I think media matters. The only way I can know
the conservatives got in the game. They got in the game 20 years ago. Yeah, they had the money to get in the game too, but they're good at it. Like, I was talking about myself. They're good at it. Like, did you ever listen to Air America? I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be mean, but it was just kind of boring. So I think the only way I can tell people to do it is what we're trying to, the experiment that we're doing right now is to just like, you can, like I say, this is a great moment. Go to donatebrown.com and donate, or go to breakingbrown.com and you can subscribe and donate once a month. And also go to subscribe to Brown, where you can subscribe to the mailing list. I want to keep everybody because I got banned on Facebook a couple times, and I want to make sure I still have access to people without having to go through a middleman. So, but I think media is important, but I don't think anybody has, this is the thing, nobody has figured out click-based media. That's the problem. And it's hard to figure out because it makes you into like this scavenger. And I know this because I've done it for a while. I wrote it, breakingbrown.com, yourblackworld.net. It makes you into just like finding the next thing that you can put up because you get paid by clicks. You don't get paid by subscribers. So you have to find the next thing to make people click. And it needs to be as shocking as possible, because what I always tell people is that when I was writing like that, like my headline had to go out and compete against everybody else's headline. And so it had to be as salacious as possible. That's not a way to bring good information to people. So like what I'm trying to do here in terms of this project is have a subscriber-based model, so that you know that I can do what I need to do and the subscriptions come in and I don't have to really worry about that. And if it gets big enough, what we were doing, like, you could, this is a great opportunity, I think, for Trump to like, since the media has been so unkind to him, to kind of take this and say, let me build another alternative media. Right. Let me give attention to people in the media who haven't gotten attention before now. I think that would be something very good, for Trump to do. And I think, we're in a moment of kind of like chaos, because regardless of what you think of Trump, like he's not built of a mold of anything that Washington's ever seen. So I think everybody in Washington is just kind of shook because they're used to acting according to a script. Well, that script is gone, and you're going to have to be creative enough to make something else up. And I think we have to be a part of that. We can't sit idly by and just kind of follow whatever we're told to do. We have to be creative enough. We have to have some political imagination. And I'm not seeing a lot of that from Democrats right now. So I agree with the caller. I don't want to get caught up in all these other things. Like the most consequential thing to your life if you're a black person is blackness. That's the thing that will determine that most of your life. All these other things to me are tangential. Right. So, just a few details on the Telecommunications Act. In 1996, your first black president, Mr. Bill Clinton, passed the Telecommunications Act. And before the Telecommunications Act, 40 companies owned 90% of your media, your FCC media. After the Telecommunications Act, we went down to 6. And there's a big difference between 40 and 6. It was supposed to increase competition. What it actually did is like let in the vultures, and Viacom and Ted Turner, they just bought up everybody, So that's why you don't have too many like independent voices on the radio, and everyone's going to toe the company line. The Republicans got in early and established themselves with the six and established their brand as being useful and vocal and like popular. So they've just been like owning the radio for the last 20 years. Like I want a radio so I can talk about a federal job guarantee, because I think actually if we had a federal job guarantee, a lot of the problems we see with like tensions between immigrants and like Native communities would go away. If I knew that felons and just like in general, if black people got jobs, I wouldn't care who else got jobs. I just need to know that black people get good paying jobs. They pay $22 an hour. But we can't say that on radio because we don't have access to those types of infrastructures unless you go, idle listener, go to breakandbrown.com and give a monthly, donation, and we can build this into maybe something that will get a bigger reach.
Somebody said something. This is not the first time I've heard that in terms of immigration. And part of the thing is people don't consider ideas because they're all considered like if it came from Republicans first, or if you saw a Republican do it, then you don't consider it anymore. It's just boxed off. And somebody said on my page, I'm just going to throw it out there, should there be a 20 years of English only for commerce or government? Because somebody said something else to me in terms of just like how citizenship is applied. Like, a fluency test and all that stuff. Like I've heard all of it. So I think I think we're in new waters. And our Republican is a super capitalist with a Republican Congress. And the one thing that I'll say is that we're not going to be able to do stuff the way it was done before. That's just not how any of this is going to work. None of it's going to work that way.
All right. Keep going.
Yep.
We got 4 lines. Let's take this person.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Tanya from Dallas.
Hey, Sonia, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. First time caller, but I've been watching your stuff for a while. And I am so happy to have a platform that I can watch to get alternative news other than what I've been hearing lately.
Thank you.
Yes. I was just thinking about some of the stuff that you said, and I love the fact that you apply facts with data, which is what I've been trying to communicate to other people in my community about the goings-on is what's going on in the world. And the funny thing about this so-called $1 trillion wealth we're supposed to have,
yeah.
I'm like, okay, please show me exactly where is that at. How much of what you think we have is liquid?
We can do a show on that.
Don't point at your house and say this is what you got. Don't point at your car and say this is what you got. I mean, what do you have in the bank right now? Because I'll tell you in a minute. Like you talked about that 1,700 thing going on with what we have as far as what we earn. I have that now, but here's the point. It's not contributing to the fictional number that we got. And they was talking about, and I was catching something you was talking about with the black wealth and the silliness of banking black. Really? Come on. Do you honestly believe that we can all put our dollars in the 15 cents in there to equate with that 1.3 trillion that you were talking about?
She's telling too much
and
truth.
We don't own any assets other than tangible items. We don't own water. We don't own power plants. We don't own coal things.
She knows.
You rarely hear of anything about wealth, and our only illusion of success is when you have a bunch of NBA players, rappers, musicians, and all that stuff.
Ooh,
and I'm like, oh my God, really?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
I'm like, oh Lord, really?
And 80% of them go bankrupt.
My grandma said that's a bunch of have-nots. I'm from that old school. Like you said about the education, it can only get you so far. But you also got to realize that some of these people out there marching for all this stuff, got to realize we ain't got our turn yet.
Yeah.
Yes, there you go.
We've been here for over 400 years.
There you
Where's
go.
the at? I don't see no marches organizer for me. I'm currently laid off from my job, like you said, due to automation.
Yep.
I don't see a GoFundMe march for me to get a job.
Nope.
I don't see the what they call that reparations to help our community so we can compete in this today's market. I don't see any of that. I'm just hoping because I'm not really a Trump supporter or anything like that. I'm going to support anybody who's going to be willing to give us a seat at the table.
Yes.
And some say that that's like, I don't like using that word, but it's Conan or whatever. But hey, we can never get a seat at the table, and we can't also accept what people who's not sitting there speaking for us at the table are going to get. We need some real stuff. We don't, the best way to help our community is jobs and education. They took out a lot of stuff out of the schools back when I was coming up. They don't focus on your, they used to, back then they only had homemaking and wood shop. But that was back when they was training us just to only do factory jobs, and some people thought that was okay. But like my mom said, you got to push it further, because she always encouraged us to get our education any way that we can. But also make sure if you rise up one day and you get a seat at the table, make sure you have another seat for the next person to come along. And I don't see much of that going on in our community either.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
That's a
you're
thing
right.
too. That's
you're
a
right.
thing
Thank
too.
you, Carla.
Thank you.
I appreciate that, but she's exactly right. She's exactly right. Like, here's
Thank
the
you.
thing. Thank you. Here's the thing. Let me just cover, because she said a lot and she was on point.
Yeah.
One of the callers last week or the week before, you all who are regular callers will remember, somebody said, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And I think that's something that we should keep in mind. If you're not at the table, then you're on the menu. If you have nobody in that room advocating for you, then you will be the group that is exploited. And like, that's what happens to us a lot. Okay, the one good thing about Trump is that all of these black leadership people are out of the room. He don't really need them no more. There's no need for a go-between. All of the go-betweens are out of the room. So there's an opportunity that creates a window of chaos for us to come in and do something.
Send a vet.
Send me, I'll go. And then the thing is, there's something else she said about education, like automation later on. She talked about education. All of our lives, especially, it doesn't even, boomers did have an opportunity. But like, if you're a millennial or Gen X, all of our lives we were told, if you're going to get an education, you're going to have opportunity. Like, that's the key to your success is education. That's what we were told. That's the key. That is the key to your success. Now what you see is that there's a key, but then there are not any doors. So it's almost like it was a trick. Like, it's just something else. Well, you don't do well in life because you don't have education. So we get educations, and then like we're still not doing well.
No, it's worse than that.
And nobody wants to. It's debt. It's just debt. So like, you have to ask yourself, like, why did I do that? I just have debt. The debt. You're supposed to be able to pay for the debt. That's the point. Like, you're supposed to be able to, like, yeah, I got debt, I can pay. You can't pay it off. It's just there. We can't pay it all. So what I'm looking at with she said something that was very important that I want to get to, and Iris said, like, did you say 80% of basketball players go bankrupt?
Yeah.
She was talking about the only money we have is entertainment money, and so most of them go bankrupt. Part of the reason they go bankrupt, like, how do you be the only rich person in a sea of poor people? Like, how does your life look? Like, everybody wants to be rich, but how does your life look that way?
No.
When everybody needs you to do something for them all the time. You either go broke or go crazy.
Yeah, you're either alone.
Or both.
Because all your friends are still broke, so you're alone. Or you try to lift everybody up, and we know how that ends. You go bankrupt. You go broke. Yeah.
Now think about how different that is in terms of, they're different people. Nobody's saying that there are white poor people or poor white people. But like, they have classes. They're super rich, there's upper class, there's middle, there's lower middle, and there's poor people. And even poor white people have $10,000 in wealth. Like,
and an uncle who made it.
Yeah, and
a few uncles.
I mean, so the thing is, like, that's what people don't understand. And so the thing that she said that I want to really bring home, she talked about the $1 trillion that we're supposed to have. And we have trillions of dollars in buying power. Let me just break down for you how ignorant that is real quick, and then I'll move on. It's ignorant because nobody defines their wealth by how much they consumed. Nobody defines their wealth by how much they consume. Because half of the stuff you gotta consume. You gotta go buy toilet paper. You gotta go buy all of that. You gotta go buy that. So nobody says, I'm rich because I spent $50 yesterday. Because that's buying power. No, wealth is not buying power. Wealth is not how much you spend on consumer goods. That's not what that is. And that number includes credit, like potential car loans. So you're including in that number the amount somebody will extend to you as a loan. It's just a fake and fraudulent number. And I think if somebody talks to you about that number, you know the level of expertise of someone who's talking to you based on whether or not they bring up that number. That's you just know that. That's you just look like it. So I mean, I think that's how you understand. I think if we understand that number is fraudulent, and that number is just built in there to make us think that we have wealth that we don't have, I mean, I think then you sort of understand like where we are.
Keep going.
Yeah, you can get.
This might be our friend.
Hey, Dad. Hi, Army.
Hey!
Hey, this is your girl, Lisa, calling from an undisclosed location in Chicago. But I just want to tell you, I watched you and Antonio Moore over the weekend.
Okay.
And I also saw the Omarosa skit. I have some observations that I want to run off to you right quick.
Okay.
And then I want to hear what you think about it.
All right.
First of all, thank you for your continued informative, thoughtful, well-researched dialogue.
Thank you.
Until Black people truly understand their reality in America, I don't see us moving forward as a group. You have illegal immigrants who think that they're better than Black people and deserve more than Black people. You have some Black leaders in academia who only solely speak for white supremacy. You have Black career politicians who are only self-serving, making friends across the aisle instead of taking care of their Black constituents. You have the Black mega church only serving mammon. What's left of Black media is in denial, and white people doing what they have done all along is deny. Slavery didn't exist, and they're all self-made. All the while, every group name have used every government program known to man to get ahead, including slavery, because slavery is and was a government program. But as a descendant of slaves, we're told we must do for self. If we don't get somebody in the room with a sound mind to speak on our behalf with President Trump, we are screwed. It's your turn, Miss Yvette.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You always come with it. I love you. Thank you for calling in today. Oh, did she have some other observations?
No, that was great.
I thought she had something about the Omarosa thing she wanted to share. She must have. But no, I agree. Like, and I think people are kind of scared of failure. Like, just because you get in the room with Trump doesn't necessarily mean you are going to get anything, but you still go.
Yeah, he's
like,
the president.
it's your responsibility to fight. It's your responsibility to try. Like, how do you be like, who says I don't want to meet him with the president? Like, who says, like, I ain't meet with him? Who are you? Who are you to even say that? Like, whether or not it's like, you could say that, like, I don't want to meet with candidate Trump. I never would even say that. But you could say I don't want to meet with candidate Trump. But this man is in the executive branch with all the powers afforded him. Like, you don't get to say that. Like, he could change your life. He could wreck your life. And don't say that he can't. I see the numbers. You know, go to my Facebook. I put up a chart a few days ago. And I think I put up a chart about the Medicaid numbers in terms of what that looks like. And what that looks like for us in terms of the percentage of Black people who take advantage of Medicaid. She changed that program. That'll, and if it won't wreck your life, it'll wreck the lives of a lot of people around you. And what do you think that has the impact of on your life? So, well, I'm not on Medicaid. What do you think? How do you think that impacts you? That people around you aren't getting the money that they normally got. That their cash flow is stopped. What do you think that looks like for your life? So I think you have to get honest. I think she's right. I think you have to get honest about everything. You have to get honest about the potential. You can't keep telling you, well, if Trump gets to get rid of all federal programs, I'm just gonna do for self.
No.
How? I'm not trying to be mean to you. I'm just trying to get you, like, you know, it's almost like, you know, you have to talk to people and how you talk to, like, you know, it's talking to some people sometimes like talking to a kid. Like, well, how are you going to do that? I'm going to go to the moon, Daddy. Well, how are you going to do that? Like, how you going to make that happen?
I'm going to get a loan from a bank.
I'm going to get a loan for $5 million for my new business.
No,
what?
Banks aren't lending to, like, yeah.
What are you talking about? Like, what do you have to like bring people back down to earth, because it's almost like we're just searching for anything. We're just searching for anything that like gives us meaning or something. I don't even know what it is, but I'm sure it's diagnosable. And I'm sure it's treated with drugs. I'm not trying to be mean, but it's just we have to. There's no place for us to go if we can't be honest. Like if we can't be honest, there's nowhere to go. Like there's no way to move. Like I always look for a direction that we can pivot. Like which way can you go? Can you go left? Can you go right? You know, Trump is a direction to pivot. Like ending the TPP was a good thing. That was beneficial. That's something that Barack Obama promised to do and never did because he got a bunch of Wall Street people around him.
Hey, I just got a hot tip from one of our people.
What's that?
Take a look at the screen.
Oh, City of Jacksonville encouraging contractors to hire ex-offenders. That's good stuff.
That's what good politics looks like.
That's what good politics looks like. And that man
good...
had on a Georgia hat, didn't he? Go ahead. Go Dogs.
But that's what good politics. So don't tell me that government can't do. Your city, your municipality, they can put pressure.
They can do it. They can do anything they want to do. This is government. Government can do what they want to do. Why people can think about, well, that's not what... We heard Obama say that for 8 years. Well, the executive branch is not a dictatorship and blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. No. And then you get Trump in there. He done wrecked that. He done wrecked that stuff. And I don't mean in a bad way. Just like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And he did it.
No,
like,
you can withhold... 5 days. Yeah, you can withhold licenses. You can make businesses' lives hard if they don't hire black people. You could do that.
You could do it.
You can do it.
Jump ahead.
Let's Shantae Arrington. Shantae Arrington. Thank you for the hot tip.
We appreciate it. That's wonderful.
Yeah,
they did that.
You can. That's what government can do. That's what good. And then all of the people out there who are listening and their government's not doing that, you need to say, look, they did it right in Jacksonville.
And you need to know that, like Army just said, you need to know that you can do it. You need to know that they can do it. All this stuff is possible. The only reason we don't believe in government is because we have Democrats like Obama who told us for the past 8 years, like, look at what Trump just did. Like, look at whether you like it or not.
Obama was trying to protect feelings of capital.
Yeah, whether you like it or not, he did all that stuff with them. Like, you know what it feels like? He's been in office for like a year. It feels like that. Like when you tell me he just got inaugurated, I'm like, what you mean? Because I don't feel like that. I feel like he's been there a long time because he did all this stuff in like a week. A week and a half, whatever. When was the night? I don't know. I think he showed like the power of the executive.
And it's funny because one president ran on hope and then spent 8 years contracting our notion of what's possible.
Yep, just streaking. He hope for 8 years. Just streaking like with the nose. Now, like hope now is like a little grain of sand.
I didn't even know that was possible. Yeah, because for the 8 years we had a Democratic president teaching us that nothing is possible.
Yeah, I agree.
And Donald Trump, whatever he's gonna do. Like, he's going to teach us that a lot of things are possible, good or bad. He's going to expand the notion of possible.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's keep this going. I'm going to leave that Jacksonville clip though, because I think that's important. You're on. Caller?
Hey. Hi, Yvette. Hi, Army.
Hey.
This is Alexia. I'm calling. I'm from North Carolina. I'm living in San Antonio right now. How y'all doing?
Good. How you?
I'm great. You know, just watching you guys as always. You're right on point. And, you know, this week when I saw Omarosa on The View, I was, like, cheering in my living room when she said that Obama didn't do anything tangible for Black America because right now, it's like, that's a dirty word. Like, people don't want to say Obama failed, but in reality, people wouldn't be so upset at what Trump's doing right now if Obama did what he was supposed to do.
Yes.
Yeah. That's unfortunate.
But yeah.
Trump's used to power.
And in the same vein, like you guys just said, you know, Trump is signing executive orders left and right, and it's like people acting like Obama's hands were tied, but now it's like none of those restraints are there on Trump, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And talk a little bit about, thank you, caller.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Talk a little bit about just like what it's like to have power, and he's just used to power.
Well, he's just, I mean, people don't understand, like it's one of the constraints to starting a business is and being a Black person is that you don't come from wealthy communities, right? So like you're not if you come from a wealthy community, you have people to sell to. You sell to people around you. People around you got money, so you sell stuff to them. That's what you do, and so the people around you can actually fund you too, to some extent, right? So what you see with Trump is like this is a man who came into a multi-million-dollar family. Like, he's used to getting what he wants. He's used to doing what he wants. He's used to moving with power. He's used to wielding power. That's what he does. So compare that to a guy like Obama, who like didn't even kind of figure out who he was racially until like, I don't know, he was in his 30s when he started coming to terms. He was writing letters, all that. But Trump's whole life has been about, I know who I am. I come from this space. I come from these people. I come from wealthy family. I'm gonna have a legacy. I'm gonna have my family's legacy. We don't even understand legacy in our culture. Like, you have Oprah, she don't have a legacy. She has the most money. We always talk about her. But like, Trump is raising his kids to be millionaires and that's like, wealth is a process for them. And wielding power is a process for them. There's no process for that for Obama. There's no process for him to learn how to do that. And he doesn't have a Rolodex. Trump can call people and say, you want to be in my cabinet? Call other billionaires. You want to be in my cabinet? I know all these people. I know who the people I want to do this.
And he doesn't have to be nice either. He's
no,
not calling
he don't have to be nice. He doesn't look for a job after it's over with either. Yeah. He don't have to worry about pissing anybody off. For what? Why would I worry? I'm a billionaire. I can do what I want to do. Who cares? And imagine being raised in that environment where you can do what you want. You can wield. You're used to wielding power because that's what money does in this society. That's what money does in a capitalist society. You can do what you want. You can wield power how you want. You can make life how you want to make life. You're used to telling people no. You're not used to being told no. So that's what he comes from. And that's what you're seeing. You're seeing a man who's like, I do what I want to do. You were never going to see that in Obama. He didn't have, he had to go and get all Clinton people because he didn't have anybody to call and say, hey, I want to do this. And he didn't make anybody. Like, you're supposed to make people. Make your own people when you get there. Like, Obama's you always going to have some people who are holdouts from other administrations, but like, get your own people in there too. That didn't happen. And so I think what you're seeing like plutocracy, and you're seeing what a billionaire looks like and how he moves in terms of what he wants to do in his agenda. And he don't care. And that could go in any kind of way, but you got to be in there.
Let's go.
Yep.
Oh, hey, Yvette.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, first of all, I want to encourage all your listeners and yourself, if you happen to YouTube Malcolm X and liberals. I feel like that's a perfect explanation for black people and their whole mentality right now is in this whole wolf and fox deceiving that they have went on. Like, you still have black people crying about Hillary Clinton. Like, why is this even still a conversation right now? When, you were silent on Bernie Sanders for 9 months and then you decided to go over Hillary Clinton, and you see what that got you. Mm-hmm. Next thing, I feel like one thing that people don't mention is that a lot of Trump supporters are legal Mexicans and legal people here. Right. They're silent because they support Trump. They don't want what little they have to be taken away from illegal immigrants. I had an instance where I went into a dollar store and the lady couldn't speak a lick of English, and she looked at me like, "Oh crap! Why did I say anything?" And it's getting crazy. Like, I don't know why black people are pushing for immigrants when they're pushing you out. And then I feel like my last point is that Trump is really a vacant space right now. Omarosa and Ben Carson are kind of the only people that he really knows. Like, there's no one. I don't think that he's against black people. I mean, I've never, all the years that I've seen Donald Trump, that's not much, but I've never gotten that vibe from him that he's just out to make black people's lives hard. So I feel like we need to get constituencies and people who have not just money, but actual plans and actual logical things in his office. So yeah, keep doing what you're doing. I support you. I support Anthony Moore, all you guys. So good job.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I think, something the caller said about, being pushed out, like, to a certain extent, to the extent that Obama, that Trump is seen by Latinos as being 35% of Latinos voted for Trump. That's more than us. So to that extent, you might want to go and check with other Latinos and ask why you did that. Do you know what I mean? If you really think that he's so bad for you, you know what I mean? Like, why'd y'all do that? Why 35% of y'all vote that way? If he, you know what I mean? Like, that should be some infighting. Don't talk to me. Don't talk to me about none of that. You know what I mean? I was quiet for a long time. Then I was for Bernie. Then I was for nobody. You know what I mean? You can't put me in that conversation. Like, nobody wants to talk about that. Like, But you know, I get to feel like if it was us, it would be talked about. Like if 35% of black people voted for Trump, then everybody would be looking at us talking about, see what you've done. You know what I mean? Do you see what you did? You know, it would be that conversation, but like because we're not having that conversation. So I kind of, you know, I think you're right, Carlito, and I agree with what you just said. I think it's, you know, it's problematic. It's all sorts of ways.
And that's why we shouldn't be on front for anything. If like Latinos aren't fighting for this,
I'm not getting it. I'm not. Listen,
if
you
they're
know that
not
people
fighting
go
for
in
this,
front and get hit first. You know when you go in front, that's why they send in the Marines first a lot of times because they ready. Do you know when you ain't nobody taking no more? Like, nobody want to get hit by?
We don't need to take any bullets for this guy.
No, we don't need to. No, we need to have a conversation. I'm not gonna be on the front line. I'm not gonna be in front of. I don't know why. I don't remember water hoses. No.
Not for Trump. No, not against Trump. That's too much energy against Trump. No, let other people send the white women out on the freeways. Send the white women.
Go, dear. Go, dear.
Stop that traffic.
Godspeed, dear.
Stop traffic on the freeway. Go do that.
Yeah, well, I would never do that. People got mad at me when I said don't get in front of no car. They were like, you know how much a car weighs?
Just don't get there first. That's not our job now. No.
Yeah, get there last.
You can protest at the back.
You don't see those jokes like right behind you. I'm coming.
All right. Well, we'll go out with an anonymous. That's always.
Oh God, it's always shaky.
Hi, you're on.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi, Yvette. This is Sandra. I just want to say I've watched your show for some time, and I appreciate the critical race theory and just the data-driven analysis that you've applied to all of these issues. I just want to talk really briefly about the raising of money for advocacy causes around immigration. And I think what it boils down to, irrespective of what, where you stand on the issue of immigration and how it impacts the Black community, is the fact that you see all these people coming out for marches and to donate. But when Black folks have died at disproportionate rates at the hands of police and are being detained under horrifying conditions in facilities across the country, you don't see that sort of looking at Black people from a humanitarian lens. Mm-mm. And so I think we need to dissect that a little bit in terms of why the public has this outcry instead of just railing against it. Why is the public unable to look at African Americans with that same humanitarian sort of kindness? As someone who has worked in the advocacy space, I can tell you that folks donate in the millions, and I know who the donors are. I'm not going to get into too much for fear of putting myself out there, but donors come out in droves for causes like immigration, LGBTQ rights. And so no matter how you feel about those issues, can we talk a little bit more about why it is that Black humanity and suffering is not seen? Black men on death row, Black men, does that make sense? Yeah, no, you make perfect sense. You make perfect sense, and I want to thank you. I appreciate your call. But I have a theory. I have a theory about that. I think that the propaganda against Black people has been so strong over these last years. Since we've been here, I can say since we've been here, the propaganda. If you remember when Ida B. Wells was writing about Black people getting lynched. And especially when Black men got lynched, Black boys got lynched, Black women got lynched too. But when Black men were killed, the thing was, well, they're brutes, they're rapists, they're thugs, and we have seen that propaganda, kind of morph and grow for decades on top of decades on top of decades. So what we're left with right now is an environment, in which Black people who are in jail are considered, and this is especially true with Black men, but Black people in general, are considered responsible for their own situation. So it doesn't matter that your community is in shambles. It doesn't matter that you couldn't find a job. It doesn't matter that you're in jail for a nonviolent offense. Everybody asks, why did you do that? And in the video I did with Antonio Moore was something very interesting. We always ask, even if a Black man doesn't pay child support, we say, well, why did he do that?
Well, he knew the consequence when he did it. But nobody ever says to immigrants, well, you knew the consequence when you crossed over here illegally. You knew the consequence when you decided to have a smuggler take you in to this country. You knew the consequence, so why did you do it? Consequences in this country only apply to black people. And we're all, you go from the Moynihan report, which said that the problem with black life, and if you haven't read it, look it up. I know most of my people know it, but look up the Moynihan report, which was basically a smear, which said the problem of black people and the problem of black life is that, we have pathological imperfections. There's a problem with our culture. And so that's what has been pushed. Nobody talks about how, the problems with the culture come with the situation. You improve the situation, you improve the access to capital, improve the schools, and black people look like everybody else. But that's not what's happened. And so it's very easy. The propaganda has been weaponized in such a way that it's very easy for everybody to blame black people for the stuff that's happened to us. Well, he sold drugs. Or, well, he stole something. And nobody says, well, why did he steal it? Well, why did he take it? Or if he even did, we don't know, because one of the things we've seen so far is all the crooked prosecutors and who and all the and the police officers who coerce confessions and different things out of people. These are all things that we see. So I think propaganda has been very effective where black people are concerned. Nobody asked, nobody asked Latinos, illegal immigrants, like, why'd you cross over? Nobody says when it's time to send people home, well, you knew the consequence when you came here. So what are you trying to do? But that always happens with us. Nobody says, well, what's the consequence of putting child support on this black man? Or what's the consequence of when Sandra Bland got pulled over? Nobody asked, well, what's the consequence of taking that woman's life or her having to take her own life? Because regardless, whatever you think happened, like nobody thinks of, like the police officer doesn't think about what's the consequence of this woman. I saw a video of a police officer putting a tie on a white boy who had stopped speeding. The white boy couldn't put his own tie on, and he helped to put on the tie because you're thinking about that white boy's life. You're valuing his humanity. But our humanity isn't valued in that way. So you don't care if you take Sandra Bland to jail for something as simple as, like being in a car. And switching lanes. And because you don't like the way she talked to you, you're going to take her to jail because you feel like she was getting smart with you. So you're going to wreck her life. Like the propaganda in terms of black people, it has been weaponized for years, and I think it's taking hold. And I think the only way, one of the ways, I won't say the only way, but one of the ways you kind of take that back is by saying, okay, if you're not going to help me, then I'm not going to help you. If you want to believe the propaganda, you're not going to lift a finger to help me when I need help. Then I'm not going to lift the finger to help you when you need help. I'm not going to come out for you. I'm not going to advocate for you. I'm not going to donate for you. I'm not going to even express empathy towards you. I'm not going to even tell my friends, oh, I feel bad for you. I'm not going to do that. And I think black people are so moral. We're used to being moral. We're good people. That's how we were trained. That we have to realize that it's just not working for us outside of ourselves. I'm not saying don't extend morality inside of your peer group and to other black people. But you have to wonder, what good is doing, extending that when people aren't doing that for you.
Yeah, we might have more unreliable allies than any other group in America. Our allies are thin, man.
Yeah, somebody said the bell curve was a bestseller. That's absolutely right. Just making the case that we're dumb and we have, just...
Our allies will be the first one to believe all sorts of dog things about us. And those are our allies, unreliable. Unreliable.
Yeah, and that which means to me you're not an ally. So I'm not coming to anything because you're detained at an airport. Fix it. I'll be here. So.
All right, so we need to get our subscriptions up. So we
need to get our subscriptions up, people. So if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the channel because we really want to build up a group. We want to get this information around. We want to have this discussion. We love taking the calls. That's what we do here. We take the calls. We have the discussion, and hopefully, and this is us. This is not me. This is not me and Irene. This is like the people that call in. You all are adding so much to the discussion. And so all of us, like the show, including the callers, like me, Irene, and the callers, and the people, like you all are contributing so much to the political education. I think the reason I think this is so important is because I think political education is important. Like, that's what we have to do. Like, until we have a political education, I don't think there's any way forward. We have to understand what's happening, and we have to help people understand, politics. And one of the great things about my group is that you all get it. So I think, you're an integral part of like helping people understand like what this means and where we're going. And we need that.
Yeah. Tell your friends.
Share this on Facebook.
Tell your church
subscribe
people.
on YouTube. Share the YouTube video. Tweet it if that's what you're into. Like the page. All of that good stuff.
All right. Peace.
Peace. I thank you. Appreciate y'all. Where the phone?